I have avoided this story time for a few reasons. One of which is that it's embarrassing. Okay. I have so many story times of things that have happened since I've been on this really deep spiritual journey with my intuition that if you were to hear, you'd be like, excuse me, ma'am, I thought you were a professional psychic. Like you use your intuition professionally. And I am, and I do, but I am a human and I didn't learn all that I know about intuition from, not messing up. There have been many trial and error moments, and this was definitely an error. I know, though, that you guys will learn a lot, so why not turn my embarrassment into something positive, right? I think it's time. Welcome back to Cosmosis or Whatever with me, your host, Celia Marie 1243, Celia the Spirit Guide Whisperer. I am your friendly neighborhood psychic, tarot reader, and energy healer. I'm also a spiritual mentor. You are here because you want some guidance and some support on your healing journey. You want to learn how to trust yourself, how to trust your intuitions, build a relationship with your spirit guides, and you are in the right place. So today's guidance is to keep up with your spiritual hygiene and take your spiritual baths, people. Okay, Healing Waters, my very first official ebook. I've started many an ebook in the past and have not released them. This one's getting released. Healing Waters, it drops next week, 7/17, July 17th, 2024. It is a beginner-friendly guide to spiritual bathing. So I'm walking you through how to take a spiritual bath step by step. I'm going to walk you through some alternatives for taking spiritual baths. I'm also going to be sharing 9 of my really potent recipes, and most of them have pretty simple ingredients, so it's going to be, easy. I'm sharing all of the tips that I wish I knew when I first started to take my spiritual baths. And today's episode is just a snippet, just a glimpse of why I feel so strongly about spiritual baths in the first place, why I even created this ebook, why this is the one that I'm like, yes, this is the one that I actually have to finish and put out there, because spiritual baths have saved my ass on many occasions. And like I said, I have not shared this story. It has been 2 years, which is kind of crazy to think about because it was embarrassing, but it is time to finally transmute that energy. Another reason besides embarrassment is because the person that this story involves is a big name on TikTok. Okay, so now any of you who have been following me for some time, you know that I am not about the TikTok drama. I'm really not. You guys, I have avoided it as much as possible. And there seems to be a lot of TikTok drama, and I'm not about it. I'm really not. And oddly, a few of my stories about not trusting my intuition involve TikTok, which I'm sure is, a message in itself for me and probably some of you. But for that reason, I'm going to leave out names, but this story needs to be told. And I had some information come to me a few months ago, which confirmed that my intuition was exactly right after I cleared the fog with a spiritual bath. So this is a story about how I almost lost my entire bank account and made possibly one of the biggest mistakes of my life because I was not listening to my intuition. And I'm getting emotional. I didn't think I was going to get emotional. I knew I would at some point. I didn't think it was going to be this early. Okay. There are a lot of nuances to this story, keep in mind. So this is absolutely going to be a part 1. So there will be more to this big overarching story about spiritual baths. It all actually started with me getting psychically attacked, which is something else I haven't talked about a whole lot to the public. I've talked about this story slightly on Patreon already. Shout out to the patrons. And some of you guys were there to actually witness me getting psychically attacked in real time on TikTok years ago. But again, that's another story all its own, maybe in part 2. But that also happened from me not following my intuition. And I have kind of talked about that one Like I said, those who know about Voldemort, y'all know. I was being psychically attacked by someone who was obsessed with me. They were siphoning my energy on TikTok, copying my mannerisms. They flew out to Hawaii from Georgia, pretending like it was for something else. It was really just to get close to me. A love spell that this person did backfired. So they were completely obsessed with me. It turned into hexing. It was really bad, you guys. It was really bad. And at that point, it was 2022. I had been reading professionally for a few years. I was really good at tarot and my mediumship was taking off. There were spirits popping in all the time, but I was still learning magic, candle spells. I was still kind of learning like defensive magic, protection magic. I needed protection though, because I did not feel like I could do it on my own. I was getting my ass energetically whooped. I really was. I did not necessarily need somebody else. I could absolutely do it on my own. Hindsight is 2020, right? But anyway, I digress. I started looking into Ifa. Now, Ifa is an African traditional religion. It's a closed practice, and this is the religion that works with the Orishas. So, Oshun, Shango, Yamaya. You guys are probably familiar, and you must be initiated to work with them within this religion. And I was honestly feeling so desperate, and I felt like I needed protection. And I went to someone for a reading within Ifa. This is that popular person on TikTok that I mentioned. And mistake number one of many is that I went into the reading telling them that I was looking to get initiated. Now, I am in no way talking poorly about Ifa, by the way. Okay, I just suggest that if you feel called to it, that you don't go into it saying that you're interested in initiating. I recommend that you take your spiritual baths, you consult with your ancestors, you consult with, your spirits, people you trust, and really trusting your intuition, that you have a good sense of intuition before you kind of get into this process. And really with anybody, because no matter what practice, tradition, religion, not everyone has your best interests at heart. And you need to be able to trust your intuition. Take your spiritual baths, people, okay? I remember this very vividly because I didn't get my reading back from this person for a few weeks, and it came back on 222, the 222 portal. And those of you who are on my Patreon, there's a couple of you who have been patrons since back then. And if you go back and look at my 222 portal reading, you will, from 2022, I was going through all of this at that time. And I was like, how divine. It was February 22nd, 2022. It was not the divine, glamorous divine moment like I thought it was. But it definitely was divine in another way. The reading, of course, said that I needed to get initiated. Of course, I went into it telling them I wanted to get initiated. Of course, they were going to play on that. And they were taking a trip to Nigeria to do a round of initiations in April. So it was February, they were doing it in April. I was so excited and it felt really aligned. I really wanted to get some help with protection because, like I said, energetically, I was getting my ass whooped. I kept getting sick. I had no energy. I was restless. My business numbers were plummeting for no reason. My debit card got stolen. My car kept crapping out. Mind you, all of this is happening. And I had been doing various protection spells, but I didn't understand the concept of, banish, cleansing, and protecting, that sequence like I do now. And I covered that in another episode. But I was still just learning at that point. I wasn't really keeping up with my spiritual hygiene. I wasn't at all. I really wasn't. And I didn't understand how important it was at that point. I also really love the idea of this person being my mentor. I'm a mentor, but as we know, mentors need mentors too. And in this specific way, I thought she could be my mentor. I was really looking up to her, but along the way, getting prepared for my trip to Africa, things fell off. my intuition was going off, and even just common sense stuff, which can be intuition too, keep in mind. I was just asking basic questions about what I needed to prepare for Africa, because the other women who were going in the group had been preparing for much longer than I had. They treated me like my questions were doing too much. Okay, this isn't the other women who were on the trip, the leaders of the group. Were treating my questions like I was doing too much. I'm just talking basic things. What kind of clothes should I wear? What do I bring? How much money should I bring? And they were acting so weird. Like, they were irritated that I was even asking about what I should bring. Like, dang, this is a huge thing. Initiation is a very big commitment on everybody's part. And so I just wanted to make sure I was going through everything with all the information that I need. I was looking to be mentored, and I didn't feel like I was really getting that. Okay. And, I was asking how much money I should bring. And with the money part, this process was going to be expensive. Or it was expensive. I lost a couple $1,000s. The whole process was going to be like $15,000, probably a bit more with all of the random costs that were kind of being thrown in there, which raised my eyebrows. My intuition was speaking. And I had already sent over some money. And for this episode, y'all, while I was getting this together, I looked at my old texts and everything for this story time. I am a receipt queen, and I think that actually came from trauma. Okay. But, sometimes it works out. So I had sent money towards my initiation process already, and that is not including my flights, my passport, money to stay at the hotels that we were going to stay at on the way to Nigeria. And I was just starting to pay off the actual initiation process, which included different things I would need and my stay in Africa. So I felt like it was so much money, and it was. And it just fell off, but I chalked it up to not knowing. I will say I also had a friend who is Nigerian who I was telling about this process, and she was like, I don't know, something doesn't really feel right with that person. Shout out to Fumi. Hey, Fumi girl, if you're listening to this, I love you, and thank you for trying to convince me, trying to let me know, because I know your intuition is popping as well, and I was just not in that space at that time. Did I listen to Fumi? No. Okay, so $15,000 was pretty much all the money I had at that point, maybe a bit more. And I was really asking myself at that moment whether this was a test from the universe about having a lack mindset and being able to spend pretty much all of my money to prove that I believed in my intuition, that I proved that this was something that I needed to do. And honestly, that sounds crazy now that, again, hindsight 2020. But when you're in something, it can be hard to see clearly. I kept going back and forth with myself. Something just fell off, and that was so much money. I had just decided to get out of the Army too, which was another huge decision. And that was a part of my stable income gone at this point. But I'm getting psychically attacked, and I need help. I need something to help me, fight off all of this stuff. And I really felt like this was the answer. It's also important to note that while all of this is happening, my ancestors were telling me to go to the ocean. Okay, I'm Polynesian. I am half Black. I am a quarter Samoan and a quarter Filipino. So the ocean plays a really strong part in all of the cultures I'm a part of. And my ancestors were asking me to go to the ocean. I lived in Hawaii at the time. The intuition, the messages were coming in hot, but I didn't have a bathtub at that time, just a tiny little shower. Some of y'all remember my tiny little apartment in Hawaii. And I didn't really know about spiritual showers. I had just barely started spiritual bathing in the ocean as a cleanse and a way to connect with my ancestors in a more meaningful way. I kept getting invited to the beach by friends and feeling really called to go. It was popping up all the time, but I was just busy and I kept putting it off. until one day I was like, okay, I have to do it. This is important. I didn't know why. I could just feel it. And that is your intuition, right? And well, that was my intuition. Sometimes it's like that, where you don't know why, you just have to do it. And there were so many obstacles in my way that day. I remember that I had gone to the beach, which wasn't very far from my house. I drove over there, and there was a race going on that day on the main road in front of the beach. So I couldn't even park at the beach and just walk over to it. The whole parking lot, everything was blocked. And I debated going home because I was like, this is BS. Like, maybe I'll just go a different day. But I just felt so compelled to be at the beach that morning. And so I asked my ancestors, I'm like, ancestors, if y'all are trying to get me to go to this beach, help me do what I need to do. Had the right idea to go park away, farther away at the mall that was across from the beach and walk over. But this was also a really great setup in the end. Like, it seemed like an obstacle that everything was going on, but it was a great setup in the end because it was early in the morning and I was there by myself. It was blocked off from the race. So it was just me. I brought my offerings and I floated in the water. I set my intentions to cleanse away any of the energy around me that I did not need, that was unwanted, and for my ancestors to speak to me so clearly. And I remember putting my hands on my head and speaking to my Ori, which is, your higher self, my higher self, to guide me and to give me clarity in that moment. I was so sincere with that prayer, that ask. And I don't remember exactly what I saw, but I do remember also seeing images in the clouds, and I was just feeling really calm and I was feeling really at peace, even though getting to the beach was kind of a lot. And I felt my ancestors' presence. I felt it so heavily in that moment. And within a few days, I was getting all of these messages that were telling me not to go to Africa anymore. All of my abilities were going off. I was hearing, seeing, dreaming. I was pulling completely different cards than I was before. My ancestors were telling me that it was dangerous. I heard the word multiple times through my clairaudience, dangerous, to go with this person, and that I wasn't meant to go. She wasn't a good person. And they said that I would not be safe. And like I said, I had my inklings about all of that before, but it was so incredibly clear to me after that spiritual bath. They gave me visions showing this person basically collecting women like trophies. Okay, like spiritual kidnapping or spiritual trafficking almost is kind of the vibe that I got. And I didn't want to believe it. I really didn't. And I wanted to go to Africa so badly. I wanted to stop getting spiritually attacked, learn how to protect myself. But the messages had no fog this time. They were crystal clear. And the messages were saying, don't go. So within a couple of days, sign after clear sign, I decided I was not going to Africa anymore. I was really nervous to tell them, and I was worried that I wouldn't get my money back. By then, I was $3,000 deep. $3,000 deep out of the $15,000, and I tried to get my money back. I explained that I could not afford it anymore, which was true because that was just a lot of freaking money. And I was then sent a picture of something from my initiation, supposedly, allegedly, that had already been made. And I was told, we can't really give you all your money back. This stuff has already been made. And granted, it had only been like a couple of months since I decided I was going. Not even that, because I think I decided like later on in February that I was going and started making those payments. But my intuition just told me that something was off, even about that picture. I had seen it in a dream before, and I knew that my guides were telling me something was off. So I took my little $500 that they offered me back out of the $3,000 that I had already sent, and I took that along with my safety, and I bounced. I was not going to Africa. And they said when I wanted to get initiated again, I would have the credit towards the process. And I was like, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. And the crazy part is that I had never had any outside confirmation of what I was suspecting of this person. All of that intuition that I was feeling, nothing really confirmed it. It was just me, my spirits, my intuition. After that spiritual bath, I was getting it so clearly. And obviously that was enough because I told them, hey, not going. My ancestors told me to just be patient and that it would all be revealed in time. And one thing about my ancestors, even when I doubt them, bless them, they always come through. Here's the kicker. In March 2024, so this is a couple months ago, I got some information from someone who did go to Africa with that group. And I found out that my intuition, my ancestors, all of it was right. And that makes me really emotional because it was such a full circle moment. I was told that this group was doing spiritual bindings on people. They were spiritually attacking this person. They were extremely overcharging. All of the things that I was being told so clearly after I took that spiritual bath were confirmed in this message by this person who we don't really know each other. We follow each other on some things and that's it. And it was confirmed that this person wasn't a good mentor at all and was in fact collecting women like trophies energetically, right? Just like my ancestors showed me. And so after the whole 2 years, almost to the date, sorry, I knew I was going to cry. I didn't think it was going to be as early as I started crying earlier, but I knew this part would probably make me cry because the feeling that I got getting that confirmation, knowing that after everything had cleared up, after I had taken the spiritual bath and I trusted myself that I was being protected and have that confirmed, was just so soothing. It was such a full circle moment. It was closing out of a cycle, and I feel like sharing this story is a closing out of the cycle as well. It's helping to transmute that energy. So yeah, after a whole 2 years, almost to the date that I get that confirmation, and even though I trusted my ancestors, they told me everything would be revealed in time, I was feeling like maybe I would never know for sure. Like, could you imagine the extra hell that I would have gone through had I not taken that bath and cleared things up for my intuition to listen to it? This is why my spirits are so adamant about me keeping up with my spiritual hygiene. This, among other things, is why I am so adamant on everybody taking spiritual baths. This is why in Circle, if you guys come to our intuitive development circle, or, even on lives, I'm like, when's the last time you took a spiritual bath? Are you keeping up with your spiritual hygiene? This is why I say those things. This is why I'm always on y'all about it. Take your spiritual baths, y'all. They do not have to be fancy. They don't have to be fancy to be potent. Okay. Take your spiritual showers if you don't have a tub. I explain spiritual showers and all the other alternatives that there are. They are just as potent as an ocean or a bathtub. My spiritual bath ebook is dropping next week on July 17th. That's a Wednesday. I'll be talking about it on, Moonglow Wednesday, my weekly live on Instagram. You can grab the book on my website, www.moonglow.guide. 17 is a confirmation number for me and it has always aligned so perfectly. When I first had the idea to finally share all of this with y'all, I kept seeing the number 17 and I keep seeing it. And I know this is going to help people. We've gone through some major throat chakra upgrades in the past few months as a collective. As I clear my throat, I need some water. And I guess, me speaking my truth about this has really been a part of that. I am so grateful for all of you who have invested any time, any energy into me and wanting to learn from me. And I always pray that the universe aligns me with people just like you who value all of my work and energy, and you are here. This ebook has come from the depths of my soul. And it has helped me transmute the pain and embarrassment and turned it all into something that is worthwhile, that I hope changes your life. Okay, you are here for a reason. Everything is connected, and that is cosmosis. Thank you guys for listening, and I will catch you in the next one. We will definitely have to talk about part 2 with the rest of the spiritual baths that have saved my ass. Love you guys. Catch you in the next one.